Oh, cool.
And we're ready
Hi.
to go.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry, Nick, I forgot my glasses. I'm not very smart today.
Welcome to the Midwest Game Nerds Podcast. I'm your host, John, and here with me today are Brian
Hey.
and Alex.
Hello.
This special Easter episode, we've got no Easter eggs, but we've got a bunch of news to go over. But before we get to all that, if you want to follow us on social media or see all the places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. The Midwest Podcast Network now has a Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month and keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at mpn.bz/Patreon. Thanks again to Jason K. and Gojo for their contributions. As always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch, as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. We are Twitch affiliates. You can use your Amazon Prime free subscription to subscribe to our channel and give us a little bit of money for free.
Or a lot.
Or you can give us more money if you want.
Yeah, and you will get access to emotes that are our faces.
Yeah, I
Brian-
think I'm going to post one in the emote thing now.
Brian's the money maker, so he's the most expensive, the third tier. But you can have John for the free tier or the $5 tier, and I'm the middle tier. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's
Yeah, John's cheap.
yeah, John is the least expensive.
Cheap and easy. Yep.
I don't know, we're interchangeable.
Anyways,
Just the way we like our Johns.
any bumpers for the network?
Yes, the Horror Movie Yearbook just did their AVPVT bracket, Alien versus Predator versus Terminator. And it is the bracket that I've seen the most movies out of. There were only 3 that I hadn't seen, and they were all Predator movies. So go listen to that. It's a very entertaining episode. They have a great discussion about Alien Covenant, and their brackets don't differ a whole lot until they start getting towards the end. So I think it's a great listen.
Right on.
That does sound cool.
You
I'll
can
probably
also
listen to that one.
Yeah, you can fill out the bracket ahead of time. If you follow them on Instagram, they usually post it so that people have time to watch movies if you want. But even if you don't watch the movies, you can still fill out a bracket, send it in, let them know your thoughts, and they'll talk about it on I think they have a bonus episode coming up next week where they'll talk about people's brackets.
Sweet.
So.
My thought is Alien Covenant was
Yes, but when you put it up against, I believe the first round matchup was Covenant versus, let me pull it up here real quick so that I don't misquote myself or misquote them. Stalling for time. Almost there. Okay, I'm here now. It was Terminator Salvation versus Alien Covenant.
okay. I think I would give it to Alien Covenant.
Which one was Salvation? Was that the latest one?
No, it's the Christian Bale and Sam Worthington
okay.
one.
Yeah, I did see that.
I saw that as well. But
not the worst of the Terminators, but not
also
the
not
best.
the worst matchup. The worst matchup was Terminator Genesis versus Alien 3, which is on the first round as well.
Is Genesis the newest one?
Genesis
I haven't
is the
seen
newest
that one actually.
I saw it in theaters.
It wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't very good.
I thought I didn't like it at all.
I just don't like how they keep changing who the fuck John Connor is played by. Like, just pick somebody and stick with it.
Yeah, it's just all right. Brian's gonna have a chest burster any minute now.
It's
a
more like a
colon burster.
Yeah, an abdomen burster.
Yeah, let's stop talking about alien stuff, I guess.
All right.
There's no current video game tie-in.
Go
so.
listen to horror movie. Yeah, there is.
Get this man
Alien
some
Blackout.
Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, but that already came out a while ago, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Spaceballs.
Horrormovieyearbook.com. Go check it out. It's a good show.
Yeah. What else have you guys been playing? Alex, you came down playing Mortal Kombat something on the Vita.
I played 3 minutes of Mortal Kombat on the Vita because they just did a the Giant Bomb was doing a feature where they were playing through the first game, and I was like, I might as well boot up my Vita and play that.
Okay.
And yeah, it's still good.
Is that all you've been playing?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
I played some Sekiro. There's episodes of Sekiro on both Twitch and YouTube for people to go see. I've actually beaten a boss, like a main boss of the game now, because I hadn't done that.
One out of the 16, probably, or however many there are.
Yeah, and it was really interesting. It was good because Zach was there to kind of like, I think he knew when I was struggling. I'm just gonna have to throw that pillow you're sitting on out after this.
Brian is also struggling.
Yeah, I may or may not make it through this episode.
Yeah, right now the McDonald's in your stomach is battling with a
God.
Soulsborne boss. That is your acidic environment.
And the leftovers of several beers.
Gross.
But no, it was interesting because that first boss was very much my play style in Sekiro before then had really put me in a place where I was trying to maintain distance and strike a little bit and then pull back. And that first boss, the way he moves is set up so that you literally cannot do that. You have to deflect. You have to learn how to deflect.
I mean, well, that's a big difference with this game versus like the Souls games is you can actually parry with the bosses, right?
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing. That was what was kind of counterintuitive to me is that I felt like there was no way that I would be able to deflect somebody who's like 3 times my size and has a gigantic sword. But you totally can because you're supposed to be an awesome shinobi. Or kind of, I don't know, a shinobi that's been killed several times before.
Yeah,
but
he's missing an arm.
Yeah.
He's kind of awesome.
Yeah, so that first boss was a very cool kind of re-education and has kind of made me more open to trying to deflect things, although I still have to like fight against my nature to just run around like a cotton-headed ninny muggins and trying to make sure that I don't get hit ever, even though I always end up getting hit, so... It's still a good game.
Right on.
Go watch my show.
And you still suck at it?
I still do suck at it.
Brian.
Yeah. I honestly don't think I've played anything other than the Division
You played Apex yesterday.
and Apex. Yeah, I played some more Apex.
How's that? Has anything crazy? Did you encounter the new character at all and jumping on jump pads?
Yeah,
or like
that was pretty wild. Those
yeah.
jump pads can make you go pretty far, especially like if you're like going if you put one on a hill and you
get
just
that
like,
angle,
yeah, and then slide when you hit the hill, and it's pretty fun.
That's cool.
He's also really fast when he does his little fast thing.
What's his name?
I don't remember.
Okay.
He looks like a character from Borderlands. That's all I remember.
All right.
I don't know.
They all kind of
the game's still good. Everyone that plays it is still really good. It seems, except for our teammates that we get. I was just playing with Corey. Still don't have a third usually.
Yeah.
But we did better overall. Like we got second place a couple times. We only played for like an hour or two. Yeah, I don't know.
Octane
I definitely feel like
is the name of the character.
I definitely still feel like it's the best of the Battle Royale games.
Yeah. Has the Battlefield one dropped yet?
Yeah, I tried it.
Okay.
Maybe I forgot to mention that.
I don't know if you talked about that or not.
It seemed kind of janky in a way. But
okay. Was there anything that made it different other than just being Battlefield and not Call of Duty or
I mean,
PUBG?
it's kind of a good yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels like a Battlefield game, but with
it's
like
a much larger
PUBG mechanics
compared to like
the map is huge.
Okay.
And it's cool. I'd say the one thing that sets it apart over the other ones is all the cool vehicles you have.
That's cool.
And like you can get in like a little mini tank
Nice.
and just wipe out squads with it, which is fun. And you can destroy buildings and stuff, which is a Battlefield staple. And that's really cool. But it just doesn't quite feel right. I think it's the problem I had with it was like the inventory management and stuff is really weird. And I just didn't quite understand it. But I only played it like a couple rounds. So
In terms of how big it is, would you say it's as big or bigger than PUBG? That first map.
It is on par with
Okay.
at least one of those maps. I don't know about the largest one, but
Okay.
it's a pretty big map, especially for only 64 people.
That's cool.
Sweet.
I'm sure they'll improve it, and it'll get better. But I don't know. I just don't have much interest in it right now.
Yeah.
I like Apex because it's wildly different than PUBG, and I've put a lot of hours into PUBG. The Battlefield one's definitely more like PUBG. Like slower and your shots matter and there's bullet drop and all that stuff.
Interesting.
Sweet.
Yep.
I've only played the Division. We played like a few rounds of Rainbow Six the other day, and we actually did really well.
Oh yeah,
That's good.
There's that
Surprisingly.
too.
Yeah, we played maybe 6 rounds of Rainbow. I think we lost 1.
Nice.
I don't feel like I lose too much skill when I take a break from that game. If anything, I just play better because I'm not as frustrated as I am when I play every day and expect too much of myself.
We all played really well, and I mean, we ended up playing with a guy who actually was like, he was not only was he a decent player, but he also was like friendly and like wanted us to like do well.
Not toxic.
Yeah, it was just a good dude. He ended up friending all of us when we were done too. So
nice.
it was an enjoyable experience with him.
Was it Thick Daddy?
No, it wasn't Thick Daddy. I can't
That's a
remember
shame.
this guy's name. It was like shit. What was his name?
That's fine.
Like QWERTY something.
Oh.
He sounded kind of like Josh.
He
though.
sounded almost identical to Fuzzy. Yeah, like he sounded like his not only his tone of voice but also his mannerisms and like his friendliness was like very on par with Josh. So
That's cool.
yeah, it was cool to have him on board. The Division still is just blowing my mind. I have finished maxing out my survivalist specialization. I've moved on to the demolitionist at this point. I'm as of last night 499 with my gear score. Now that I'm actually like getting to 500. My proficiency caches that drop are giving me 500 level items, and I'm picking up higher level stuff. So I'm gonna start actually speccing out my gear to build and play the way I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Which we did some PvP the other day in the Dark Zone and just got fucking demolished by these guys. Who I mean, and they were lower gear score than us. I think for the most part, they just had better builds overall.
It didn't really occur to me till now, but because you can trade items, couldn't you just drop items for me and I could up my gear score that way?
If when we're playing together, I can. Yeah.
Well, we should probably start doing that.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, the game's fantastic. It's
what is have they said what the gear score required for the raid that just got pushed back will be?
I don't know, but World Tier 4 maxes out at 490 as like its peak, and then like 500 is what you can get to. When you're playing in challenging mode, I think enemies are level 35, so you want to be as high as possible.
I thought we were in Tier 5.
We are, but Tier 4 Tier 5. Yeah, Tier 5 drops or maxed out at 490.
Okay.
Like for the it's like your table, your crafting table maxes out from 470 to 490 is what you get in Tier 5, and then you can then pick up gear that's 500 or more, I think, or just 500 max. Excuse me. But yeah, the game's great. I found some guns that I really like. What I really dig about the Demolitionist, now that I've switched over to him, is that his specialization, has much better. I can't. You guys are the worst. Oh my god!
So he went to grab a Kleenex immediately after farting. I was like, is he gonna wipe his ass on the air right now?
Oh my god.
I'm sorry. So you're making gear on your table.
No, well, what I was gonna say is the what I really dig about the specialization of the Demolitionist is that each specialization has their own set of weapons that they like recommend you use. Like for instance, with the Survivalist, they said auto rifles and shotguns were like your go-to, and then they also gave you a D50 Desert Eagle as like your sidearm. For the Demolitionist, it's LMGs and SMGs. So you've got these like heavy hitting like LMGs, and then you've got these like lighter hitting SMGs, and you can pump perks into both of those to make them stronger by percentage, like up to 15% stronger when you max out each of those perks. And I've been using Chatterbox, which is an SMG.
What about the class I play? You're just gonna ignore.
I don't
that
know
one?
anything about your class. You should probably
Well,
talk about that
talk
shit.
about
Honestly, you get a 3-round burst pistol, and you are encouraged to use semi-auto rifles and then as your secondary, and then a sniper rifle as your
See,
primary.
that makes plenty of sense.
So you're saying they encourage you to use these.
The perk tree gives you perks based on those particular weapon types.
Okay.
So like each specialization has a set of perks applied to those items. The Demolitionist, because of my current build that I'm using Chatterbox, which is an SMG, and I have this LMG with a 100-round magazine that's just unfucking believable because it just seems like the bullets keep coming. Like
Yeah, he was firing it into my face for like 2 solid minutes the other day.
So you can choose to use other weapons.
Yes,
so you're
just not
you
gonna
just
get
don't get
those
the
perks,
bonuses
right.
from your perk tree.
Yeah,
Interesting.
some of the bonuses do apply to all weapons. Like mine has something that gives you like plus 5%. Each time you level it up, it gives you an extra 5% to headshot damage, and that's for every weapon.
Yeah,
you
that's
use.
global for all the weapons.
But sniper rifles have a modifier that gives you like 100. I think at this level it's like 130 plus percent headshot damage.
Okay.
So it's better to use something like that because then you're just stacking the bonuses.
Yeah. So you picking survivalist or demolition or
Sharpshooter.
Sharpshooter.
This gives you this perk tree that enhances using these certain weapons for you. Does it do something else? Like what is it? Is that like the main focus there? Is that you get this perk tree to play with, and
You get a perk tree specific to the specialization that you choose, and it bumps up different perks that you may already have. Like for instance, you're allowed 2 skills. You're like normally, like in the game, you're allowed 2 skills. Your skills are your gadgets. So you have
Equipped.
either your drone or your
turret.
The turret, yeah. So
yeah.
you have these different skills that you can drop and use in play. The specializations also have perks to those particular drones. For instance, the survivalist perk was that instead of the rolling grenades, the seeker grenades,
Yeah.
it was a healing grenade that you can drop on yourself, and then you can send it to go help your other players if they're down or whatever. Like if they're getting hit, you can send it off to them, or you can bring it back to you. For the demolitionist, my turret can now launch artillery, like
Interesting.
missiles, like grenades, like.
Really?
Yeah,
Sweet.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
the sharpshooter gets like a recon drone, which is not really that useful, honestly, in my opinion.
That's the
But
one that pings people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is cool because you can have it follow an enemy,
Okay.
so that part's cool. But like, I feel like it doesn't do anything that you can't do with the pulse tree.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, it's just the game is super in depth, and Brian he dropped a video in our Discord the other day, and like after we had been playing all night, and he's like, I didn't realize how deep this game gets.
Yeah, like it had 15 tips, and I probably didn't know about 10 of the things
That's
in
cool.
that video.
Scurvy Nuts Lamont just hit us up with his Discord. It looks like
Nice.
right on, man.
All right.
You got it. Yeah, we'll talk, man. We'll get at you.
So is there anything about the weapons that you choose? Can they have so you say the sharpshooters encouraged to use sniper rifles. Can you get sniper rifles that will also contribute to perks for like your skills or anything like that, like the drone and stuff? Like is there any, like, I get that the perk tree from the sharpshooter specialization encourages you to use sniper rifles. Is there anything on the sniper rifles that will feed back into like the skills that specialization encourages, or no? Is it just kind of the one way?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
there's a lot of different perks that kind of work well with each other, but
And it really just depends on the kind of build that you want to make too, because like you have like armor perks and like attack perks and skill perks that you can add based on your armor and things that you put on. So it's all a matter of like figuring out how you want to play the game and then adapting. Like, do you want to be more of like a healer type support character? Like you would pump a lot of your points. Your armor would then go to skill.
Yeah.
Or not like your I guess it's armor, but I don't want to use the word armor because armor is an
Your gear.
attribute. Your gear, yeah. So you pump all your gear into skill, and then you would probably use someone like the survivalist, who's more of a support character and can heal people. If you were trying to be more of a DPS, you'd probably want to use like, you're going to use the demolitionist, and you're going to pump a lot of your gear perks into the attack, like buffing your LMGs and your SMGs and your headshots and your critical damage and things like that.
Okay.
So the game's intense, man. Like
There's a lot there.
there's so many things to consider. And like I said, we ended up going into the dark zone the other day, and this other group of guys, like, we thought they were going to be cool, and they were at first, and then all of a sudden they just like turned on us out of nowhere. Which, I mean, that's the game.
Yeah, that's
let's
the
be
dark
honest.
zone.
But we could literally do nothing to them. Like any chance we got, like, I mean, their demolitionist had his skill tree for his grenade launcher was maxed out. Anytime that grenade hit me, I was down instantly.
and that was one of the 2 zones where, or maybe that's the only zone where the damage is kind of normalized between levels. So like you can't like roll in there, like you know how Destiny, like when you'd play like Iron Banner and your power mattered or whatever. Some of the dark zones are like that.
Okay.
And then the other ones are not. So, and this one was not like that. So we should have all been on equal footing for the most part, but they were just like handing our asses to us the whole time. There's nothing
like
we could do.
every bullet it's like one of the things I was reading is putting a lot of perks into handling your gun handling, and it's like these guys like
that's something I never would have
their guns
thought about.
never wavered from the point like it's like they were using laser guns like they were not missing a single bullet, and it's like every bullet hit me and it didn't matter what I did.
And they were using full auto guns, so
interesting.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of things to take into consideration depending on how you want to play the game and what sort of aspects of the game you plan on playing. If you're focusing on PvP, you're going to have a different build out for PvP. You can save loadouts too, which is cool. So you can have a PvP specific loadout. You can have one specific to the conflict mode, which is like the arena style PvP. You can have one specific
we
to
haven't
the
even
PvE.
touched.
Like there's so many different ways to build out your character, and it's like it's a little bit intense, but at the same time it's kind of fun figuring all that shit out. Like, it's just the game's great. Everything about it's great.
Cool.
So anyways, we've talked enough about the Division. Let's hit some news.
All right.
Apparently Scurvy Nuts Lamont thinks we're boring.
That's fine. Stop saying his name. So the Division 2, the first raid was pushed back to May. It was supposed to come out April 25th next week, but it looks like they've decided to take a little more time with it.
A bunch of people online were like pissed about this. I'm like, you know what? I don't care because there's so much other shit to do in the game. Like I don't.
It's also
I could wait.
a free update. They're not particularly in like.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
You know, if they got to they say they want to take time to fine tune it and make sure that things are
I
good.
would much prefer that than they
release something buggy.
And then you get halfway through this long ass raid and you can't finish it or something stupid.
And they just unlocked the public test server for Division 2, which is great. So if you want to play some of the new content that's coming out, it is available for you to do so.
So how does that work? How does that work with your character? Is it just kind of like this is just for fun, or does it actually like
same character? I don't think there's cross progression between the servers though.
So you'd have to play it again in order to complete it in your actual save.
I don't think so. I think you can load the character you have because that's attached to your account, but it's not like what you play on the public test server is separate from what you play in the game otherwise. I'm not 100% sure though.
Okay.
I was debating downloading it. I need to free up some space on my SSDs because I keep downloading.
There's never enough space.
There's never enough space.
Yeah, I just keep buying more.
How big is the Division 2 compared to like Tom Clancy? Because Tom Clancy's like
it's big. I'm pretty sure. Like
Rainbow.
Yeah,
60 gigs, I think.
Something around there, 60 maybe.
Huh.
But
so it's not 4 years deep and 100 gigabytes.
No, it's not.
That's
Definitely.
It will be 100 by the end
point.
of the year, I'm sure, after all the free updates.
Yeah.
But
all right. So
more Ubisoft.
Notre Dame burned down this week,
Partly.
sort of. And after that had gone down, the internet realized that Ubisoft had recreated a realistic rendering of Notre Dame in Assassin's Creed Unity. And because of that, Assassin's Creed Unity will now be used to help remodel Notre Dame as they're
I
fixing
thought that
it
was
up.
just a rumor.
Nope. That's the only way they're going to be able to fix some of the visual fixtures in the building is because
That's
of how
insane.
accurate
it's
Notre Dame's representation is in Assassin's Creed Unity.
That's one of the things I've always loved about the Assassin's Creed games is how
their attention to detail is unbelievable.
meticulous they are.
Yeah, it's great.
And I'm actually really sad I never played too far into this one, so I'm kind of glad I got it for free because I had it on Xbox.
So that's the thing.
It ran like shit on Xbox.
It is free on Uplay. They're encouraging donations to the reconstruction effort for Notre Dame. They also donated like 500,000 euros or something.
Yeah, something like that. 400. I think it was 434,000 euros.
Yeah.
Roughly $500,000 US. I think.
Okay, so that's really cool. And the thing is, when this game first came out, it got panned because of the bugs and things at first. But I had always heard that after they had actually fixed the issues, it was actually quite a good Assassin's Creed game.
I heard on PC it still looks like better than even some of the newer Assassin's Creed games.
Interesting.
For some reason. Well, that's probably why it ran so terrible back in the day.
Yeah.
Because I do remember when it looked good, it looked really good.
Yeah.
When it came out. But it just, it was like nearly unplayable, and then I never got it back around to revisiting it.
Well, I mean, I even think back to like the first Assassin's Creed game. That game looked amazing for 360.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was incredible.
Definitely.
Looking. That's something Ubisoft has always put a lot of time and effort into, is making sure their games, like the visual aesthetic, is very appealing.
They've done some remaster stuff too. Like they just released 3 remastered for the new consoles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and it looks like now that the game has been put out for free, and with how I don't know, corroborative Ubisoft has been with the like reconstruction efforts, people are now like review bombing the game on Steam in a positive way, and like giving it really good glowing reviews, which isn't normally something you see happen on the internet. So,
well, I mean, again, I am throwing it out there. Ubisoft is like developer of the past couple years, because they're just fucking taking over, man.
it's weird to have someone who like actually pays attention to its users.
Yeah, and like gives a shit.
Yep.
You know, it doesn't seem like they're all about just making money, even though they probably are. They're a big
I'm
corporation.
sure they
I'm
make
pretty
a
sure they
shitload of
actually
money.
donated some of their own money to this.
Yeah,
too.
no,
that's what we referenced. Like,
I don't know if that's really necessary. We don't need to get into my opinions on that whole thing and the fact that the church has enough money. But
well,
whatever.
yeah. But anyway, yeah,
no, I mean,
cool.
yeah.
Get the game for free on UPlay.
The real question would be who owns the property itself.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
we're not gonna.
good point.
That's for the
I don't really know.
Midwest
Flint
Not
needs
my
clean
business.
water, you know.
Midwest Property Rights Nerds
The
podcast.
Midwest Property Brothers.
Yes.
Oh wait, where do I fit in? Oh,
I don't know.
You're the guy that stinks up the houses.
You're Dr. D. You're the.
I'm a toilet tester.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm here to test the integrity of the bowl.
On the other side of giant video game companies, Activision Blizzard wants to know how its employees' pregnancies are going.
This is fucking weird, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it affects them if like a bunch of women are leaving for pregnancy leave, or if like you've got men leaving for paternal leave. If that's part of their practices, I don't really know.
So yeah, apparently the Washington Post published a story that said that Activision Blizzard has been offering third-party fertility and pregnancy tracking services to its employees, and then receiving their data back in return, supposedly anonymized data. So this is something I'm gonna be kind of cagey about this, but this seems to be something that a lot of bigger companies are doing with their employees. I'm sure using some of that data, as John said, in order to kind of track and see like where they're going to need to shift manpower and stuff like that. Certainly person power.
Go on.
So like they're like I think this is happening more than people realize. I don't think Activision Blizzard's the only company out there doing it. I know for a fact that Activision Blizzard isn't the only company out there doing it, but it does feel kind of weird when like you hear that, oh, they're receiving the data back anonymized, and then on top of that, like, what are they doing with that data? Have employees really been made aware of what's being done with that data, and so on and so forth?
Pretty messed up, honestly.
What were you going to say?
I mean, my secret hope is that they're using it to perfect hosts in the real Westworld. Because that's exactly what they do in the show. Use everyone's data.
That's true. Yeah, they're sending robot gigolos to their employees' homes and collecting all of their bodily fluids. And
Hello, I'm here to impregnate you.
My name's Tane.
My name's
I'm
Tane.
here to entertain you. Anyway,
I'm your new dancer, Tane. Hey there, Paul.
But yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of information out there. I didn't read the whole Washington Post story, but it just basically sounds like these apps are out there under the guise of like trying to help you figure out like, okay, I'm sure there's like ovulation tracking, and like on top of that, when you should be getting checkups and ultrasounds and things like that. So they have this like representation of being like, we're here to help you know how to keep track of your pregnancy, but then on top of that, the fact that they're like taking that data and using it for some purpose that is not transparent.
I just feel like a general rule to follow is if a large corporation offers you an easy way to do something for free, they're definitely getting something out of it.
Yeah, you got to look into it.
So just don't let them into your personal shit too much.
Yep.
If you have a problem with that.
Yes. Be aware of what the data you are giving people may do. Don't trust everybody.
Because information is power.
Yes. All right. Next up. Microsoft is promising its biggest E3 presence ever just as Sony sits it out. Their Xbox conference will be June 9th, which I think is the Sunday.
I mean, they have a lot more elbow room, in there.
Oh, they certainly do.
Maybe they'll just set up like a track for a Forza event or something.
Entirely possible. So it's going to kick off this year at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, June 9th. Obviously, it's going to stream everywhere. They're going to talk about things like Halo Infinite and Gears 5, as well as all of the huge games the studios that they've picked up over the past couple of years.
Cool.
But this is also where they're expected to have their kind of streaming video gaming announcement or sneak peek or whatever it's going to be is probably going to happen here. And it's set to be an interesting E3. It could either be really big and interesting, or it could also be really boring and like only Microsoft.
Yeah.
So we still don't know if Sony's gonna do like a Nintendo Direct-ish thing around the E3 time frame, or maybe they'll do something ahead of time, or maybe they'll do something after.
Or maybe they'll just sit back and be like, we're the leaders.
That's entirely possible.
Let's let everyone catch up.
We have news to cover shortly with Sony and their next generation plans shortly, but they still have room to be like, hey, Days Gone just came out, and they have to announce when The Last of Us 2 is coming at some point.
The main
Ghost of Tsushima
the main
as well.
filming, I believe, for like the mocap just ended this past week for
They just
Last
tweeted
of Us
out
2.
about Neil Druckmann, I think is his name.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
I don't remember.
Neil something. The head of Naughty Dog tweeted about finishing the mocap shooting. So
Cool.
yeah,
Yup.
it's gonna be an interesting E3, and I honestly, I'm a little personally, my disappointment about this E3 is that I wonder how much, because Giant Bomb usually goes and they have guests from all over the industry come on every night and talk, and they usually have a 3 to 4 hour show every night of E3 with really interesting panels of guests that they switch out every 45 minutes or so. But I'm wondering how much people are even going to be there without Sony having a huge presence. Microsoft's still going to be there, but people are probably starting to think should we bother putting money into showing up to E3 if
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how E3 is covered this year.
But I mean, I think a lot of that shift came when E3 became less about meeting with the retailers and more about meeting with the actual players.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, they certainly the last 2 years they've been trying to bring in gamers more so than focusing on media companies.
Selling to the retailers and the media companies and everything.
It's just like anything else. You see a competing kind of event going on that does something, and you want to try to do it too.
Yeah.
PAX has gotten so big that they have ones in every corner of the country now.
Yep.
Year round. So they probably wanted to get in on that player connection.
For sure. But and as we've talked previously, but having companies take charge of their own press has certainly led to a shift in how news comes out. Why bother to come here at E3 and put your stuff out among everybody else that's doing it when you could just create your own platform at a different time of year
and release it on YouTube.
Yep. Put it out on YouTube, have everybody watch it anyway, have control of the media narrative that day.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting world we live in. But anyway, more Microsoft news.
Xbox One S All Digital Edition launches May 7th for $249.99.
So this is the discless I tried to say diskless so that I didn't say dickless like everybody has been saying on the internet.
That's what I was thinking.
The diskless Xbox One S, $250. It comes with Minecraft, Sea of Thieves, and Forza Horizon 3, not 4.
That's a really good bundle. Like, if you don't have an Xbox at all, I feel like this is a pretty decent deal, and you have no games.
You get Game Pass for 3 months for $1.
Yeah, that's cool too. But if you've already been in the Xbox game, I feel like $250 is too high. Like, it should be about $200.
Yeah.
You're losing the ability to play any of the physical games that you may already have, and you're not going to be able to play 4K Blu-rays, which I think is one of the cool kind of value-added things that the Xbox has over the PlayStation.
I mean,
Even though it's not
considering
like a great player, it's better than none.
considering it like what 2 years ago, the Xbox that I sold to John, the 1S that I sold to John, I got as like an Amazon warehouse open box for like $180.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I swear I've seen the S be as low as $200
Like
for certain
$199.99.
sales.
And granted, that didn't come with 3 games.
How much space does this have? I didn't notice.
That's a great question. Let's
like,
find
what the
out.
hard drive is. It doesn't even say, does
Yeah.
it?
Click on one of the store links at the bottom there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that determines more how much value.
1 terabyte.
Yeah. See, if you're going all digital, that I feel like that's not enough space either.
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, I would think if you are thinking about buying an all-digital Xbox,
But
then
that's the
you
thing,
have a
what's-
pretty robust internet connection.
What's the
anyway.
difference between the all digital and the one with the disc drive? Because games now have to install the entire game
Yeah,
on the
I mean,
hard drive
there's that
anyways.
too.
The disc is simply a key to tell the system that you own the game.
I mean,
so,
Yeah.
it prevents you from getting sweet deals on used games and borrowing them from friends and stuff like that.
That's the main thing to me is like I can't imagine that anybody's going to want to buy this because it's locking them out. It's locking them out of the market for discs. It's like they're taking the temperature of like, hey, do you want to get us to a point where we feel like we don't need to sell physical copies of games anymore?
But that's the thing. So with Game Pass and just the ease of purchasing games digitally in general, like I'm less inclined now to buy physical copies than ever. Like I don't like the only reason I buy physical copies now is because I still have my Best Buy Gamers Club for the next couple months. But most of the games I've purchased in the past couple of months didn't have physical releases on PC.
100%. Well, and that's the thing. You've also taken, and I have too. We've all taken more of a turn towards our PC, anyways. Where
the games we want to play are multi-platform, so who cares?
The
But
physical market already does not exist for PC. Yes, you can go out and buy a box in store, but even if it has a disc in it, you're still using a one-time use key in order to play that game, and it has no value after that.
The last couple games I bought physical copies of for PC didn't even have a disc.
Yeah, it was
they
a key
just
in
had
a
the
box.
code.
the
in
only
box.
the only PC game that I have purchased in the past 6 years that actually had a physical disc was Diablo 3.
Does I guess I could go grab my copy.
Civilization 6 didn't have it. Didn't have one. It was just that was a physical disc, but again, it's just a key that you put it in to
punch
download
the code
game
into
and
Steam, and then you download the copy that has the latest updates anyway.
Call of
'cause-
Duty was a paper disc with a code on it.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 was a paper disc with a code
Yeah.
on it. Like that's just the standard
Yeah.
now. Nobody's buying physical games anymore. And it's funny. Well, so part of that, like everyone's like, well, if I'm not paying for the physical like stuff anymore, why is the game
still $59.99?
why does it still cost the same amount of money? And that's because they didn't want to fucking increase the price of the physical copy ones. They're selling more of the digital versions now at the same price because that's what they should have been paying anyways. They're not producing like hard cases and discs and all that other
Yeah.
shit. They're not paying all these other things on the back end anymore. So
But the cost of making video games has risen as well.
Right.
So there's kind of this.
I would expect prices of games to go up with the next generation, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't. I mean, it would be probably a smart thing to do. The only issue is like I would
If-
want that to go into the pockets of the people making the games and not the CEOs of the companies.
Right.
Yeah.
You
so
know,
it's
like
hard.
EA, who fired 500 employees and then gave their CEO a $31 million bonus or
Yeah.
whatever the hell. That guy
Yeah.
can suck a fuck.
Yeah.
Well, he made a decision that made their stockholders more money, so that's why he gets a raise.
He
Yep.
made a decision.
But that's a different discussion for a different
That's
podcast.
the Midwest communism nerds podcast. We'll
So
come back
socialism
to that one.
nerds?
Yeah, the socialism nerds.
Democratic socialism.
That's my main thing
No
right
collusion.
now. Yeah. Okay. My main thing right now is that I still have this hope of when I go to sell my PlayStation or whatever or trade it in, I would rather be able to reap the $1.50 credit that I can get for Horizon Zero Dawn than not. So I don't know why I haven't been able to break the idea that like, oh, I'm just going to get pennies anyway. But at the same time, now that we're coming to a place where the PlayStation 5 is going to be able to play PlayStation 4 games, do I want to get rid of those games anyway? If I bought them digitally, I can just download them on my new PlayStation and play them that way anyway. So we are moving towards this point where physical games are becoming less and less relevant. However, at the same time, same discussion we had with Google Stadia, the idea that people in rural areas are going to be able to play these games over the internet or even download them when they have like an internet cap or they're running at like 5 megs down. You're cutting out part of your audience anyway, but I guess we don't have any real raw data of like no, I don't need help with the purchase of an Xbox One S all digital edition. Thank you, Microsoft. It's just curious to me how much they're losing out on people who can't buy things digitally for one reason or another. But
Right.
at the same time, all these games have day one updates that if you don't download them, the game's probably broken anyway too, right?
Yeah.
So increasingly, it seems like gaming is just becoming a thing for people who have nice internet connections.
It'll just be interesting to see what all happened. Well, they did just, was it the Supreme Court or who? I don't remember who, but they allowed, I don't remember if it was like a museum or like some kind of archivist, archival community to emulate old games for the sake of like keeping them around.
Yeah, the
Historically.
game preservation.
Yeah, so like it's gonna be like, what is that company gonna do about a game like Destiny in 10 years?
Oh yeah,
You know,
for sure.
like it'd be interesting to know what happens with that sort of thing. And I mean, that's kind of what we've all been gearing up for anyways. I mean, if we think back to the original announcement of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, like games were supposed to just like you were perpetually connected to the internet.
That was the Xbox One, and that's how Sony got
but
their
that's
leg
the
up.
thing is like Xbox One announced that first, and then Sony was like, no, we can't do that, so we're not going to do it now. We were going to, but we're not, and
Yeah.
so then they didn't announce that they were doing it.
Look where we're at now. Everybody's going to do it anyway.
But that's the thing is like it wasn't
we got there anyway.
It was unnecessary on a hardware level because all of the software has made us do it anyways.
Yeah.
And I think back to as early as the first iPhone, maybe my iPhone 3GS, when I purchased Dragon Warrior by Square Enix on the phone, and I tried to play it on an airplane, and because I didn't have internet access on the airplane, I wasn't allowed to play it.
Yeah.
That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for me to have internet access to play that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's obscene.
It's not like you were trying to play Destiny on a plane. You're trying to play a game that came out in like 1989.
And it was a single player game.
Yeah.
Like the epitome of a single player game. Like you only even had one character in the RPG. It's not like you were collecting other characters. It was literally a single player game.
were there
Yeah.
microtransactions?
Yeah, to get rid of the ads. I don't know. Fuck.
So if you would like to pay more for an Xbox that can play less games, May 7th is your day.
How does it play less games?
It can't play physical games.
But it can play, like, every game's released digitally.
Yes.
If anything, it can
I'm
play more
saying-
games because there are some games that aren't given physical releases. So
No, because you can also play. But
You can still play
you,
those.
you don't have access to the wealth of physical games that are out in the world. I'm not saying like NHL 19 versus NHL 18. I'm saying like there are 30 million copies, not that many. There's several 100,000 copies of NHL 19 out there that this Xbox cannot play, and therefore you must buy it online for $59.99.
Fair enough.
Like that, to me, that's why I would never buy this thing. But at the same time, it's going to be able to play whatever Xbox 2 is going to be, since it's going to live in the cloud anyway. So who knows?
If I can get one for like 180 or something someday, or if they make an X version of this that's like
no, just
250,
watch.
Then I might want one.
Watch Google Stadia be available through the YouTube app on the Xbox.
That's entirely possible.
You know what I
too.
mean? Like shit like that. Like I don't know. Google's genius. Buy AMD stock. I don't know.
Anyway,
Should buy AMD stock anyways for this next news bit. So
yeah. All right. The real bread and butter of today.
So Wired magazine had an interview with what's his nuts.
Mark Cerny is his
That
name.
guy. Yeah.
Mark Cerny Nuts.
Creator of Knack
Sir Nuts.
and Knack 2.
Great releases.
Yes.
That none of us played.
Nope. I bought Knack 1.
He might know things, but he may not
Did you
have a
play it?
knack
No.
for video game
Oh,
design.
Oh man, you
The
suck.
show's canceled. Everybody
Brian-
go home.
Brian's canceled because of his ass.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So Mark Cerny interviewed with Wired and gave some details on the next generation console from Sony, talking about the fact that they are targeting 8K graphics and 3D audio, also ray tracing for graphical and audio implications.
That
More
was
accurate.
actually really interesting to me. The ray tracing for audio.
Yeah, what the hell's that all about?
So they're using the ray tracing isn't necessarily used for light only and reflections, but also for the pinpointing of 3D audio from multiple directions.
Light and sound are both waves and therefore can benefit from the same technology.
Okay, yeah,
you
that
know?
makes sense.
It was like
It's
really interesting
vectors.
to like think about.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah.
Because if you think
That
about
could
it,
be
like
a big deal.
the idea of ray tracing in terms of light in games and reflection is like they're tracing a ray of light from a particular source to its what do you want to call
Where
that?
it intersects with the geometry of the world.
Yes. And you can apply that same technology to audio to create more immersive 3D sound, which is kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah,
if you really think about that, especially in respect to VR, that's incredible. So
I'm really interested to see what they do with this 3D audio, honestly. I feel like they always kind of downplay the importance of audio with
some of this
with
kind of
console
stuff happen when
hardware.
People are talking like this, and it does this sort of thing.
Well, that's really irritating. Maybe I don't want 3D audio.
You're gonna have me. We're gonna be playing Destiny 4 online VR, which is gonna be the next iteration of Destiny. We're gonna have our helmets on, and I'm gonna make my character run around yours, and you're just gonna keep hearing things like this happen to you all the time.
Yeah.
And it's
Just think about if in Sea of
Brian,
Thieves.
where are you? What are you doing? What are you looking at in the menu right now? What guns are you putting on? What kind of armor are you putting on your character right now? What's going on right now?
Just think about in Sea of Thieves when we're both running around you with our hurdy-gurdies. How much that could be improved with ray tracing.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I'll run through the other things that they're also thinking about here, or what else they're talking about. Like it's an AMD Ryzen CPU, 3rd generation. They're looking at 7 nanometer Zen 2 microarchitecture, which is the latest and greatest. And
GPU is going to be Navi based.
I mean, won't Zen 3 be out in
Navi.
a month or two?
top of the line right now, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the other thing that they're also talking about, PSVR. The current PSVR will be compatible with the PlayStation 5.
That's awesome.
They did not talk about what may be coming next in terms of like a PSVR 2.
I think the only thing anybody wants with PSVR 2 is wireless.
Well, and better tracking
I think-
is kind of like the
Yeah.
real main, like, even if it wasn't wireless, if you could track controllers and the headset better with some different technology.
Personally, I want a controller that doesn't look like a stupid stick with a ball at the end. You know, those dumb move controllers.
Yeah.
I want a real touch controller like the Rift had.
The other thing that they said, they are trying to get an SSD, solid state hard drive of some sort in this PlayStation. They're looking to improve the like the SATA technology or the connection technology, so that they can actually take advantage of higher speeds from hard drives. Because right now, if you throw an SSD in your PlayStation 4 Pro, you will not get the maximum speeds of that SSD on the PlayStation 4
Well, yeah,
because the interface between the PlayStation and that hard drive is not good enough.
I think they're only using like SATA 2 instead of 3, which is a big difference.
So those are the things they're targeting. They said something about the load time from Spider-Man on a slowed down version of the new hardware went from 15 seconds to 0.8 seconds, which is fantastic. But also it's kind of sad because the load screens in between with Spider-Man on the subway are pretty entertaining. But
that's the thing, they had to entertain you.
Yeah, exactly.
They had to do that because, like, I think it's mentioned in the article, nobody wants to wait for 15 seconds.
It's like
people
like when
don't want that.
When I started playing Skyrim on PC rather than PS3, and I couldn't read any of the tooltips anymore, or rotate the models around, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But also, I was immediately playing the game. So
right.
Anyway. That's the summary of the big announcements that were made in this Wired article. I'm sure everything is still kind of subject to change, and also like the fact that they're targeting 8K graphics.
That seems like a pipe dream right there.
Yeah, with any appreciable frames per second, like even to hit 30 frames in 8K is going to be a challenge with whatever hardware is out right now.
But like you guys were saying, your hope is that they'll get 4K at 60 frames a second. Easy peasy.
That's my hope.
I think that's achievable at this point.
Oh, I think it's achievable.
Based on what I've seen with my graphics card that's already like 2 years old.
Yeah, the fact that I can get 120 frames a second at 1440.
Well, that's like a different ball game than running at 4K though.
Well, the main thing here for me, when I read this article, I was like, this thing's going to cost $600. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that it will not be $399 like the PlayStation 4 was at launch.
But they've since released an announcement, or not an announcement, but they've a statement saying that the price point will be appealing.
They said the price point will be appealing with the feature set that is available in the machine.
Yeah, I mean, $600 might be appealing if you're looking at building a gaming PC or something. $600 is a deal.
But if this is capable of doing all the things that the modern gaming PCs can do at the fraction of the cost of a GTX 2080 Ti, like
that's what I'm saying.
That's
appealing.
That's great, but then there are the people that aren't us that are looking at it from the perspective of, oh, I just bought a PlayStation 4 Slim for $250. Are they ever going to get anywhere near a $600 PlayStation 5? Probably not. But I also think we're probably living in a world where Sony's like, hey, PlayStation 5 is here. It's $599.99. We're also bringing out the PlayStation 4 Pro Slim. It's available for $350 or something like that. Because maybe these PS5 games will still be playable on a PlayStation 4 Pro. Although looking at something like Sekiro, it's not really playable on a PlayStation 4 Pro. Well, they mentioned something
in the article mentions some idea that it looks like Death Stranding is going to be a 2-generation game.
Yes.
So.
Yes. But at the same time, if that PlayStation 4 version still doesn't like run well, because we're seeing these games come out like Sekiro that don't run even at like 30 frames per second particularly well, you know, or like at least at a constant 30 frames per second. Yeah. So it's worrisome to me that like,
yeah,
we may have these games that are released in between generations that, you know, it's like Nintendo putting out, I think, what was it? They put out Hyrule Warriors on the 3DS, and it was literally unplayable on the normal 3DS, and it was playable on the new 3DS only. But you could still buy it and use it on both.
I would feel ripped off.
Yeah, it would suck. And I feel like that we are getting to the point, especially with something like Sekiro, where that's happening more and more with current hardware.
Yeah. Well, really, I think I'll just stick with my PC if I can, unless.
I mean, I'm interested to see what happens with this, and I do think, you know, a platform like Stadia, if it takes off, is something that Sony could even somehow invest like their games into, seeing as Stadia is running on AMD architecture as well.
Yeah,
I'm this is total pipe dream, you know, like, but that's the sort of thing where like Sony could make money off of Stadia too.
Mark Cerny is quoted in here saying something. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry. They did say something about streaming video games. Yeah, so Google. So this is a quote from the Wired article. Google is leading a charge away from traditional consoles by launching a cloud gaming service, Stadia, later this year. Microsoft's next version of the Xbox will presumably integrate cloud gaming as well, to allow people to play Xbox games on multiple devices. Sony's plans in this regard are still unclear. It's one of the many things Cerny is keeping mum on, saying only that, quote, "We are cloud gaming pioneers and our vision should become clear as we head towards launch," end quote. But it's hard to think there won't be more news coming on that front. To me, that quote smells like we're thinking about it still.
To me, that sounds like they're probably going to mimic the Google Stadia platform and allow you to play it on the Sony Bravia smart TVs and things like that without even needing a PlayStation 5. That's what I get from that.
Well, and
it wouldn't surprise me. And that would be kind of cool because then I don't have to buy the PlayStation 5. I can keep my PC and I can play the exclusives, which are most likely are going to be single-player experiences anyways, as we've seen. No problem on my Sony Bravia television.
I mean, I'd be cool with streaming my Sony games on my PC too,
which you can currently do.
Yeah, you can currently do that, or who knows what the next platform is going to do. But if it comes down to, okay, the new Sony PlayStation 5 is $600, or you can buy this controller that links to your Bravia TV and will give you a month of PlayStation access for free, blah 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 blah, and I can play all the exclusives that way, I'm 100% down with that. Then I don't need to buy a PlayStation.
I don't know why, but I can actually use a PlayStation 4 controller on my Samsung TV.
That's pretty
I've never tried it, but it's an option.
There might be, it may have at one point had PlayStation Now integrated with it because that was a thing. Like that's the thing is that
right, like he's saying, like we are pioneers in cloud gaming. Like we've
already done that.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, which, cool.
No collusion.
Cool story, bro. But, I don't know if I feel like they're being very dicey with how they're treating Google Stadia, especially with this quote of him being like, "We've already done that." You're not doing it on the level that they're trying to do, and you're not doing it on the level that Microsoft is promising to do it on.
Right, and I think back the Stadia, I feel like we didn't really talk about Stadia as much as we probably should have, but the things that they want to do with Stadia, I find extremely interesting. Specifically, queuing up with other players online on YouTube streaming, that's incredible.
Yeah,
what a great idea to get people to want to. That was the sort of thing. I think back to when Dying Light was coming out. I wasn't completely sold on buying that game, but I was pretty sold on it. And then I watched a couple influencers playing on Twitch, and I was like, man, I want to play this right now. That would have been sweet to just be like, oh, I can.
Well, and that's the thing of the idea that you can pause a video, hit a button, and load up the exact moment in the game that somebody was playing. And hey, maybe they say, all right, anybody who starts it from here can play 30 minutes of the game from this point. And then, that influencer gets some credit for when you go and buy the game because you want to keep going from there or something like that.
Yeah.
That's all really cool and interesting.
It just sucks that they'll probably pull the plug on it in a month in.
Who knows? Let's Google.
I mean, I would have expected them to have done that as soon as Project Stream finished. Just being it didn't work out the way we wanted it to, but clearly it did what they wanted it to do.
Instead, they're
which I think the stream was just to test infrastructure, it seemed like. So
Yeah, and I guess the interesting thing is here we're heading into a generation where Microsoft is the halfway point between Google and Sony. And so either streaming gaming doesn't take off and Sony's in the clear, or streaming gaming does take off and Sony's left behind. And one of those two things is going to happen. Sony's got PlayStation Now and they're in a place where they'd be able to come back around at some point. But in these next intervening years, the early 2020s, we're gonna see a shift in the game, and we could potentially see a shift in where gaming goes.
Didn't more recently Microsoft just released a huge cloud platform, right? Azure or something like that, Azure, didn't that just drop not too long ago?
I don't know how recent that was. I think that's been out for a little bit.
It's been out for a while, but they like recently like did a huge overhaul, and I think it's like more functional and runs better over like in general.
Yeah.
So I could be wrong. I don't take my word for that. I my retention for facts is terrible.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have
exactly.
the best memory in the world, but I can't remember things that happened to me months ago.
Yeah, I think there
No collusion.
There's a large swath of possibilities that we're gonna have in gaming in the coming years, and I don't know. Nobody knows where it's gonna go, but we know Google's putting a big bet on stuff. It seems like Microsoft is putting a big bet on streaming stuff as well.
Hey, you know what? If everybody just gave up on hardware and focused on producing like massive amounts of incredible software, I'm A-okay with that.
Well, but the one thing that's tying me to like I'm gonna probably have to buy a PlayStation 5 is VR.
Yeah.
Like PlayStation VR. If I can't play PlayStation VR, there's no way I'm gonna be able to play PlayStation VR over the internet. I don't see a world where that happens, and I think that is what will make a pretty big determination in like what I want to go with next time.
Yeah.
So, but we could live in a world where I own a PlayStation just to play VR stuff, and all my other games are going to be on PC. Who knows?
Right.
Or you could just get VR for PC.
But then I won't be able to play the Sony VR games, and those are the ones I care about
Okay.
because they're not just the same like sword and sorcery game over and over again. Can't play Iron Man VR, which, by the way, didn't come out in between episodes. I was just an idiot.
Oh. I thought it was supposed to be out by now.
I thought so, too, but apparently there wasn't a date announced, so
Okay.
I'm just dumb. But
Days Gone comes out this next week.
so does Mortal Kombat.
I plan on picking up Days Gone.
I'm going to pick up Mortal Kombat. Well, I'm going to rent Mortal Kombat.
It's gonna be hard.
Probably won't get either.
It's gonna be hard to juggle Days Gone and Division.
Yeah.
These D games, they just take over.
Yep.
But anyways, if you want to follow us on social media or see other places you can listen to or watch the show, check out MidwestGameNerds.com/links. You can also check out the Midwest Podcast Network Patreon. The Patreon is meant to benefit all the shows on the network. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month and help keep our shows alive and well. Check it out at mpn.bz/Patreon. Thanks again to Jason K and Gojo for their contributions. We love you guys. As always, we do appreciate your feedback, which you can send to MidwestGameNerds@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch, as well as rate and review us on your favorite podcatcher. Don't forget that we are Twitch affiliates, and you can use your free Amazon Prime subscription. Prime gives you a free subscription to give to any Twitch streamer that you want to give it to.
Why not give it to us?
Why not throw it our way?
It's free. You wouldn't even miss it.
We would greatly appreciate.
The only downside is you have to re-up every month, but we'll remind you.
We're here to remind you.
We'll remind you at least
Every couple weeks, we're here to remind you.
Yep.
Hell yeah. So thanks again for listening. Next time, hopefully, we'll talk about some Mortal Kombat and Days Gone. And other than that, anybody else have anything they want to say?
No.
No collusion.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all. Peace.